Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on orders over $10. From July 6, 2020 through August 7, 2020, if you use this promo code, you will be automatically entered into a drawing to win a Double Masters booster box. Also, there is another way to win where no purchase is necessary. See the link in the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Another kind of big week for the market, maybe not as crazy as it has been, but still a lot of cards going up in value for various reasons. A lot of reserve list cards moving this week. You'll see that throughout the video today. Quickly before we get into the details though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. And currently, they do have pre-orders for Double Masters, booster boxes, VIP boxes, and packs as well. If you use the Heroes promo code for a Double Masters booster box, it comes down to $297, and that does include shipping in the United States. Whenever you use the promo code, it also supports the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you, and without any further ado, let's get into it. Oh boy, we're incorporating those core set 2021 cards now into the standard section of this video. And we're going to look at the top 13 standard legal cards that have lost value this week. So again, standard is just in a really strange place right now. Of course, there's a rotation coming in the fall, which is not that far off at this point. Also, too, with the ongoing global situation, most players don't really know when they're going to sit down and play paper standard again. So that does mean they're a little reluctant to pick up cards unless they need the card for something else, like Commander, for example. Number 13 is Basri Ket. This goes down 73 cents to $3.89 this week. Now, you're going to see that there's a number of more expensive core set 2021 cards going down. Some of that is just still normalization based off the fact that some of these price points were a little high during the pre-release season. That's typical many times of Planeswalkers. So as packs get cracked, now you'll start seeing some of these prices continue to fall. This has seen a tad bit of standard play here or there, but it hasn't really become a role player so far in the format. It has made some occasional Commander appearances though. Number 12 is Breeding Pool, the one from Gatecrash. It goes down 76 cents to $24. Now, this has recently been going up, so we're seeing a little retraction here. Also, remember, we are closing in on that standard rotation, and this is a card that will be rotating out. With that being said, though, this does see play in a lot of big decks right now, like Thiemo Reclamation, various ramp builds, flash builds, and more. And like all the Shocklands, they will continue to see play in Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. Number 11 is another Planeswalker trying to find their price point. It's Liliana, Waker of the Dead, going down 84 cents to $6.64. This has seen a little standard play, but it is showing up in a lot of the Tiny Bones decks in Commander. Number 10, Planeswalker deck cards also have a hard time sometimes closing in on that proper price point. Here's an example of that. It's Liliana Scrounger, down 90 cents to $3.04. This is actually a pretty good Commander card in Liliana Heretical Healer builds, for example. But if you really want this card, there's 3 copies of it in the Liliana Deathmage Planeswalker deck. Number 9, another Planeswalker deck card here, just more of a pricing anomaly, trying to find its price point. It's Basri's Aegis. It goes down $1.06 to $3.22 this week. You can find 2 copies of this in the Basri Devoted Paladin Planeswalker deck. Number 8 is a card that did get reprinted in Core Set 2021. It's Heroic Intervention. This is the one, though, from Aether Revolt. It goes down $1.21 to $10.52. And the main reason it is losing value is because of the reprinting. It is already seeing standard play in Mono Green Stompy and more, also sees a little Pioneer play, and it is a highly played Commander card. Number 7 is Massacre Worm from Mirrodin Besieged. It goes down $1.39 to $14.60. Another card that was reprinted in Core Set 2021. Again, that is why it's losing value right now. It hasn't really done a whole lot in Standard yet. Maybe it will do something in the future, but it does see some Commander play, and it does show up many times in those Vito Thorn of the Duskrows builds. Number 6 is Grim Tutor from Core Set 2021, going down $1.39 to $16.67, the big reprint of the set. We originally saw this card in Starter 1999. That became a very expensive card to pick up. This, much cheaper now, and it probably will get a little cheaper before it does stabilize, simply because there was a lot of hype around this card during the pre-release time. Now that everybody's starting to think about where they actually want to use the card, and packs are being cracked, the price is starting to settle down. Now, this does see a fair amount of Commander play. It's a tutor, so you know it's going to be in some of the competitive decks out there especially, and it is showing up in some new builds too, like Tiny Bones Trinket Thief and Vito Thorn of the Duskrows. Number 5 is another Shockland. This time it's Hallowed Fountain from Dissension, down $1.51 to $22.48. Now, there was one copy of the Ravnica Allegiance version of this card in the Wild Bounty Brawl deck, which did put a lot more copies in circulation. This card has been relatively soft ever since. Every once in a while, it will jump back up a little bit. This week, we see it going down again, though. This is in a lot of mana bases, again, in standard ramp builds, Azorius Control, Bant Flash, and more. And like I said earlier, this will also see play in a lot of other formats as well. Number 4 is Azusa Lost But Seeking. This is a great modern card. You'll find this in Amulet Titan. It's a highly played commander card as well. And it frequently shows up in the very popular Radha Heart of Kjell builds. Why is it going down in value? Again, it was reprinted in Core Set 2021. Masters 25 goes down 96 cents to 17.80. Champions of Kamigawa down $2 to 27.37. Number 3, you know this was reprinted in Core Set 2021. I'm not even going to tease you. This is Ugin the Spirit Dragon from Fate Reforged. It goes down $2.55 to 39.22. So this is in various ramp builds right now in the standard format. Pioneer, this is in Lotus Breach. Modern, it's in Tron builds. Sees heavy commander play too, but the reprint is bringing the value down. Number 2 is Teferi, Master of Time. It goes down $3.97 to 33.67. Another card that had a lot of hype around it during the pre-release time period. Again, not too surprising since it is a Planeswalker that tends to happen, but this card has been stabilizing down. I do think it's going to lose more value before it finally kind of hits its price point for the time being. Sometimes in Standard, you might find this in a Bant Ramp build here or there. This has seen some early Legacy play, though, in decks like World Gorger Combo and Miracles. In Commander, it's been in some Atraxa decks, and of course Atraxa is being reprinted in Double Masters, so that could make some people more interested in building that deck. Also, it's been in some of the Bruvac the Grandiloquent lists, which have been a popular build recently, too. Number 1 is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. It goes down $4.54 to 47.98. Not too surprising, this card has been climbing pretty aggressively recently. It was due for some retraction, but it does see a lot of play. You're going to find this in Temur Reclamation, ramp builds, Bant Flash, and more. Also see some Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Commander play. And that brings us to the top 6 standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 6 is Questing Beast. It goes up 49 cents to 16.91. You'll find this one in Mono Green Stompy, Gruul Aggro, and more. Some Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Commander decks will play this too. Additionally, this was mentioned in one of the professor's videos on Tolarian Community College this week. He was showcasing a Nayeth of the Dire Hunt Commander deck, and that could have brought some more attention to the card too. Number 5 is Fiery Emancipation. It goes up 52 cents to 9.96. This has been a highly anticipated Commander card ever since it was previewed. And it does say something that here we are with a lot of packs being cracked, and this card is going up in value and not down like most of them at this point. A lot of Commander players want this, especially for mono red builds, and there's a lot of new commanders to play with too. This is showing up in some new builds, things like Zerzoth Chaos Rider from Jumpstart, Sabira Telzidi Caravaner from Core Set 2021. This shows up in a lot of Torbran Thane of Red Fel decks, as you can imagine, and it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Number 4 is Clothes, God of Destiny, up 55 cents to 7.55. Now, this does see a little standard play, sometimes in Jund Sacrifice in the sideboard, and other places too occasionally. Modern, though, I think is really pushing the price of the card more than anything. Additionally, it does see a little Legacy play, and it's a decent Commander card too. Number 3 is Godless Shrine from Guild Pact, going up 70 cents to 16.95. This time you have a Shockland going up in value. And there was even one copy of the Ravnica Allegiance version of this one in the Knights Charge Brawl deck. So even with the additional copies in circulation, this one's still bumping up a little bit this week. Now it has lost some value recently, that could be why. You will find this in Orzhov Yorion and some other decks in Standard, and like all the other Shocklands that sees play in other places too. Number 2 is Shark Typhoon. It goes up 99 cents to $7. Another card that is seeing a lot of play right now in Standard. You'll find this in Temur Reclamation, ramp builds, Azorius Control, flash builds, and more. Also has shown up in Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Number 1, the Great Henge, goes up $2.08 this week to $29.95. Quite a jump, and this is in those mono green stompy builds and more in Standard. Also, it is a very highly played Commander card. Alright, time for Pioneer. Let's look at those top 7 Pioneer legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 7 is Liliana of the Dark Realms. This is the one from Magic 2014. It goes down $1.48 to $19.99. However, another copy of this card is going up in value. You're going to see it later in the video. They're both trying to find their price point right now. They have been moving quite a bit recently. This is a solid Commander card, and it is showing up in Tiny Bones decks. Number 6 is Elenda the Dusk Rose. It goes down $1.49 to $25, and this card jumped quite a bit back when the Commander rules change was announced, and now it is normalizing back down. It's still a fairly popular Commander though, and it does see play in big decks like Edgar Markov. And there's some new cards that could push this in Commander as time goes on, things like Witch of the Moors and Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Number 5 is Mox Amber, down $1.67 to $23.25, and the reason this is losing this much right now is because of the banning of Arcum's Astrolabe in Modern. Many times Mox Amber was in the same decks that run Arcum's Astrolabe, so I think some people are trying to sell this card off before it loses too much value, but I do think it will still see some Modern play going forward, and it will continue to see Commander play. In fact, it has seen more play recently in that format in Kinnan Bonder Prodigy builds. Number 4 is Jace Vryn's Prodigy, down $2.24 to $31.13. A while back, this card actually gained a fair amount of value, and it stayed high. Still sees a lot of Pioneer play, but you could argue that maybe the price point is a little too high, even for the play that it does see. With that being said, though, you're going to find this in Dimir Inverter, Saltai Delirium, and it continues to see some Legacy play and Commander play too. Number 3, Cyclonic Rifts continue to normalize down after some big increases. This is the one from Modern Masters 2017. It goes down $3.56 to $34.45. Of course, this does see a little Modern play, but it's a huge Commander card. Number 2 is Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth from Planar Chaos, going down $8 to $34.99. This particular copy dried up recently and spiked really aggressively, but you're going to see later in the video another copy is going up in value. So the card is still very sought after, but this copy needs to normalize. You'll find this one in Mono Black Vampires, Mono Black Aggro, and more in Pioneer. It sees Modern play, Legacy play, of course Commander play. It has even seen more Commander play as of recent because of cards like Zixara the Exemplary, and now you're finding this in Tiny Bones builds too. Number 1 is Waste Not. Speaking of Tiny Bones, that's what drove this card to go up in value initially. But this one from Commander 2016 dried up a little too quickly in the online marketplace and it spiked very aggressively. Now you're seeing normalization. It goes down this week $8.13 to $14.99. Alright, on to our top 8 Pioneer legal cards that have gained value this week. And you'll see as we move throughout the video, the key driver for cards going up in value right now continues to be Commander. Number 8 is Omnith Locus of Rage, up 67 cents to $10.56, a very popular Commander card, seeing more play now in those Radha Heart of Kjell builds. Number 7 is Prowling Serpapard. This goes up 74 cents to $5.99, and this has seen increased Commander play in Ren and Ciri Inseparable builds, and to a lesser degree, Zebra's The Writhing Storm, and Neitha the Dire Hunt decks too. This also did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week as well. Number 6 is Crucible of Worlds. This is the one from 5th Dawn, the original. It goes up 76 cents to $28.94. Now this does see some vintage play, but it's more of a Commander card nowadays, many times in lands builds, but other places too. It is seeing additional play now in Radha Heart of the Kjell builds, and also if you watch Commander Versus this week from Star City Games, there was one of these in a Chainer Dementia Master deck, which again could have brought some more attention to the card. Number 5, there's that other copy of Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, I promise. This is the one from Magic 2015. It goes up 77 cents to $26.81. Number 4 is a card that actually does see play in the Pioneer format. This is Mana Confluence from Journey into Nyx. It goes up 86 cents to $25. You'll find this one in Niv to Light, Naya Winota, and more. And this also does show up in some Modern and Legacy decks too. But yes, of course, this is also a big mana-based card in Commander. Number 3 is that other copy of Liliana of the Dark Realms. This is the one from Magic 2013. It goes up $4.24 this week to $22.33. Number 2 is Oath of Nissa, going up $4.56 to $6.37. You know why this one's going up. It became unbanned in Pioneer. And I'm sure it's going to show up in some decks, including things like Kethis Combo in the future. Also, this is already a solid card in Commander. A lot of players are putting together those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds right now because of the Core Set 2021 Shrines. Many times you'll find this card in those builds. Also, this shows up in Atraxa builds, and that is getting reprinted in Double Masters. Number 1 is Hellkite Tyrant. It's the copy, though, from Commander 2016, and this particular copy is drying up a little bit, kind of like we saw with Waste Not recently. This one goes up $5.35 to $13.94. It is a solid Commander card, though, and it does see play sometimes in Kali of the Vast builds, and that is another card that's being reprinted in Double Masters. Alright, I hope you're ready for some Modern. We're going to look at the top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5, a card that is banned in Legacy, but you sure can play it in Modern. It's Ren and 6, going down $2.56 to $58.90. And you'll find this one in Jund builds and other places in the Modern format. Also see some vintage and Commander play as well. But I have noticed percentage of play on this card is down a little bit compared to where it was a few months ago, which is why it is losing a little value right now. Number 4 is Thrumming Stone, a card that recently spiked, so again, you're seeing some normalization this week. It goes down $2.63 to $44.99. Very popular Commander card. Now, this card got hot for a little while because of the Year of the Rat Secret Lair release, but recently it was pushed even more because of Bruvek the Grandiloquent. A lot of players wanted to put together mill decks with persistent petitioners and of course include this card. Number 3 is Grade Pact from 10th edition, down $2.66 to $20.23, another card that has been spiking pretty aggressively, finally beginning to normalize down a little bit, trying to find its price point along with the other copies of Grade Pact too. Now, this is still a great commander card, especially in builds like Teysa Karlov, and it does get better because of that Death Trigger rules change that occurred a few weeks back. A lot of players started picking up this card back when that happened. Also, too, some newer cards are pushing this as well, things like Kjell's Fight Fixer and Witch of the Moors, for example. Number 2, Cavern of Souls for Modern Masters 2017. It goes down $284 to $72. And again, you have a card that was spiking recently, retracting a little bit now. And some of this extra retraction could be due to the fact that sellers are coming back to the marketplace or maybe bringing more inventory to the marketplace again. And that does lead to more supply, which does satisfy the demand better. Now, a card like this is going to see a ton of play in a lot of places. In Modern, this is in Eldrazi Humans, Amulet Titan. It's also in that new Goblins build, the one that a lot of players started putting together when Conspicuous Snoop came out from Core Set 2021. There's a combo in there, Conspicuous Snoop, Bogart Harbinger, Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker, and Sling Gang Lieutenant. Also, this is a great tribal land and commander and has seen more play with the new Goblin builds there as well. It's also seen increased play in Winona builds, Ren and Syrian Separable builds, and beyond all that, this card even sees Legacy and Vintage play. Number 1, Verdant Catacombs from Zendikar. It goes down $323 to $66.70, and enemy fetches have been hot. They've been popular for a long time. This one's losing a fair amount of value this week. Why is that? Well, this has been increasing rapidly, so that's part of the reason you're seeing a little normalization here. But there's also reprints coming out in some capacity. So this card, for example, it's going to see play anywhere where it's legal. In Modern, you'll find this in Jund builds and other decks there. But Ultimate Master's Secret Lair has come out. Now, that product is very expensive and very hard to find. It didn't impact prices that much. But add to that the fact that when all those summer bundles for Secret Lairs ship, everyone who ordered a bundle is going to get a enemy fetch land at random. That's going to put a lot more copies out there into the marketplace. And on top of that, Wizards also promised that there would be another non-standard product going to game stores this year that would reprint fetches too. So I do think a lot of players are going to hold off picking them up right now and kind of wait and see what happens with reprints and the price points. Okay, let's look at the top 6 modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 6, a card that actually, yes, does see play in Modern. It is Gemstone Caverns, going up $217 to $1134. You'll find this one in Mono Blue Tron, Eldrazi Tron, and more. And it does see some Commander play too. Number 5 is Temporal Extortion. It goes up $239 to $11.22. Now, this one is more of a Commander card, and it does see play in Tiny Bones decks. Number 4 is Doubling Season. This is the one from Modern Masters. It goes up $277 to $58.75. So we know this is being reprinted in Double Masters, but some players just can't wait. They apparently want to get their hands on a copy of this card. Now, this copy did lose a lot of value last week, so this is probably just some normalization in the short term. But this is a highly played Commander card. It does see play in Atraxa builds. It's another card that's being reprinted in Double Masters. It's also very good in Reese the Redeemed decks, and that got reprinted in Mystery Boosters. And it has seen some increased play in new builds like Zixara the Exemplary, Ren and Syrian Separable, Zera's the Writhing Storm. And this also did get a Command Zone mention this week as well. Number 3 is Sig River Cutthroat. It goes up $420 to $1448. This is a Shadowmoor rare, and I'll use my one per video. During this time period of Magic, there was a recession in the game. Less packs were cracked. So when there's a little attention on some of these cards, especially the rares, they tend to jump up. And in this case, you have a card that's a fairly popular commander, and it does see some competitive commander play as well. Number 2, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, the original from Rise of the Eldrazi. It goes up $658 to $68.80. Another commander card here, typically found in Kozilek the Great Distortion builds, but it has seen increased play in Kinnan Bonder Prodigy decks as well. Number 1 is Reflecting Pool. Conspiracy goes up $1.32 to $20.37. Tempest goes up $8.01 to $30.64. So this does see a little modern play in like 5-color elementals, for example. But really, this is moving because of Commander again. It's a solid Commander mana-based card, and it is seeing more play in those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds we referred to earlier. Alright, that brings us to the Vintage Spotlight. Here's where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, 93, 94, or cards that are just important to collectors. You're going to notice that even though a lot of the market is slowing down a little this week, The vintage market continues to be hot and is actually picking up a little. First, we have Gilded Drake on the reserve list. It goes up 218 to 198.08. Many times you'll find this in Legacy Esper Vial sideboards and also Merfolk sideboards in that format. This is a popular commander card, especially in competitive builds as well. Necropotence. Now, this is the copy from Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel. It's only found in foil. It goes up 219 to 56.36. You'll find this one in vintage Doomsday decks and more. Plus, this is a very popular commander card and does see play in Tiny Bones decks. Serra Sanctum. This one's on the reserve list. It goes up 349 this week to 193.07. This is in Legacy Enchantment builds and has been seeing more commander play again because of those Core Set 2021 shrines. No, it's not a Mox, but it is Paradigm Shift. This is going up $3.86 to $19. It is on the reserve list. And this card's interesting because it was going up for a while, then it kind of cooled down and stabilized. Really, ever since Thassa's Oracle came out, this has seen increased play in Commander, but also in Legacy and Vintage. You'll find it in Merfolk decks with Thassa's Oracle in those formats. But another reason this could be moving up this week is the fact that it's a Weatherlight card, and Alpha Investments did do a Weatherlight box opening, which could have brought some more attention to some of these cards a lot of folks either forgot about or never knew about. Next is Vampiric Tutor from Eternal Masters. It goes up $4.93 to $112.70. This does see vintage play in a variety of builds, including Paradoxical Outcome. And tutors, of course, are just huge in Commander, very critical for those competitive builds. And it's probably not a coincidence that this is a tutor in black, considering a lot of people are trying to build around Tiny Bones right now. Gaia's Cradle from Urza's Saga. This is on the reserve list, but it did get reprinted as a Judge foil before they closed the loophole on the list. It goes up $5.72 to $543.69 this week. Not a huge percentage jump here, but I did want to point out that this card is actually still moving up even at this price point. Now you'll find this in Legacy Elves and Maverick builds. Vintage, you'll find this in Hollowvine. And it's a solid commander card if you're lucky enough to own a copy. It's even seen more play recently in builds like Kinnan-Bounder Prodigy, Zexara the Exemplary, and more. Next is Savannah from Revised. It is a dual land on the reserve list, of course. It goes up $5.82 to $214.01. Next, we have another card from Weatherlight that is on the reserve list. It's Peacekeeper. It's going up $6.83 to $17.77, but there's a little more to the story than the previous Weatherlight reserve list card we talked about. This one was featured in an article on the My Weekly Grind blog that showed 10 reserve list cards that were under $10 at the time. And a lot of those cards actually started to climb after that blog post came out. We're going to see some more later in the video. Now, aside from just extra attention going to the card, it's actually very solid. It does see play in Legacy many times in the main of Esper Vial and the sideboard of Academy Rector builds. Additionally, sometimes you'll find this in Vintage sideboards as well. And this does see Commander play in decks like Angus Mackenzie and more. Tropical Island from Revised on the reserve list. It goes up $7.08 to $401.98. Lion's Eye Diamond on the reserve list goes up $8.14 to $329.99. In Legacy, you'll find this in Storm builds and Dredge. It sees Vintage and Commander play as well. In Commander, this does combo with Wheel of Fortune, Underworld Breach, and Thassa's Oracle. Mox Diamond from Stronghold on the reserve list, but did get a reprinting in foil and from the Vault Relics again before they closed that loophole. It goes up $10.89 this week to $394. You're going to find this one in Legacy Maverick and Lance builds and other places too in the format. It's also a highly played commander card, especially in competitive decks. This card I wanted to include because of the high percentage jump. For a long time when the market was a little healthier, we saw a lot of players trying to pick up unlimited cards. Even some of the more random cards were spiking some weeks. This could be a signal that some of that is starting again. This is JM Daytome from Unlimited, and it's going up $19.29 to $84.99. Fork from Unlimited. This did get reprinted and revised, but it is on the reserve list. It also had a pretty big percentage jump, going up $20.63 this week to $128.75. Allurin on the reserve list. It goes up quite a bit this week, $22.22 to $63.99, as it does dry up in the marketplace. Maybe this is a targeted buyout, but the card I think is more sought after too because of gameplay. If you look at those Legacy Allurin decks, they are doing even better and are getting more popular. Some of them are even running some new cards from Core Set 2021. I've seen some copies of Jareel Monvuli Recluse and Baron Talarian Archmage showing up in some of the builds. It also has seen some increased commander play, originally in decks like Chilean Teller of Tales, but more recently in Ren and Syrian Separable builds. Bad Moon from Unlimited. This card has been super hot. Another Unlimited card spiking, going up $27.40 to $88.88. Wheel of Fortune from Unlimited. This is on the reserve list, but did get a couple more printings once in revised, and then there was also a Judge foil as well. It goes up 48.08 this week to 369.95. We talk about this card a lot on the channel. The revised version, though, hasn't really moved this week. I feel like this is just another one of those unlimited spikes more than anything. Here's Ali from Cairo, another reserve list card, but this time one from Arabian Nights. And again, you're seeing a pretty big spike here. It goes up 51.53 to 252.37. So some of these could be targeted buyouts. It could be certain sellers, maybe for whatever reason, pulling some inventory. It's hard to say. But keep an eye on some of these reserve list cards. It does feel like there's some activity here. These next 4 cards are all dual lands, are all on the reserve list. We'll begin with Teague from Unlimited going up 54.96 to 397.23. We have Badlands from Unlimited going up 73.04 to 518.04. Volcanic Island Revised goes up 951 to 472.74. Unlimited goes up 123.98 to 887.97. And Bayou from Unlimited goes up 145.02 to 645.02. In the last card in this section, we have Gwendolyn de Corsai from Legends on the reserve list. This goes up 152.70 this week to 362.50. And that brings us to the Commander Spotlight. Not quite as big as it has been, but it's still rather sizable. We'll begin with Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker going up $1.01 to $12.99. This is the one from Modern Masters. And this is part of that combo I mentioned earlier that is seeing some modern play, but that combo is also showing up in Commander as well. Aside from that, we have other cards pushing this other than Conspicuous Snoop. We have things like Muxus Goblin Grandy from Jumpstart, and also remember, Grenko Mob Boss has been reprinted in Jumpstart as well. Tana the Bloodsower up $1.01 to $9.95. This one's only found in foil. It is a very popular partner commander, and it does see competitive play. Many times it partners with Timna the Weaver. Sliver Legion. This card lost a lot of value last week. It's bouncing back slightly this week, going up $1.02 to $1.01. Sliver commander decks have very much been in the spotlight ever since the reprinting of Sliver Hivelord and Sliver Overlord. Consecrated Sphinx, Meriden Besieged goes up $1.07 to $31.40. Iconic Masters also up $1.07 to $33.14. This is a highly played commander card. It does see competitive play. This has seen increased play too in builds like Kinenbounder Prodigy, Anaya's the Gale Force, Zera's the Writhing Storm. Also remember, the Locust God was reprinted recently too, and many times that card and this card show up in builds together. Abeyance, another Weatherlight reserve list card. We talked about the reason why some of these could be going up earlier. It goes up $1.11 to $15.80, and it does see a little commander play, sometimes in things like Heliod Sun Crown builds, for example. Greater Oromancy, hey, it's a Shadow more rare. It goes up $1.21 to $39.48. This has seen increased play, again, because of those shrines from Core Set 2021 in those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds. Great Whale, this one's on the reserve list. It goes up $1.28 to $10.71, and this is another card that was mentioned in that My Weekly Grind article I talked about earlier. This does see some commander play, and casting cost-wise, it is a little expensive, but it does play well with Emiel the Blessed from Jumpstart. Mana Crypt, the original book giveaway promo, it goes up $1.30 to $3.85. Still creeping up just a little bit, even though it is being reprinted in Double Masters. It's a great vintage card and a great commander card, especially for those competitive builds. Privileged Position. Now, this is the one from the Guilds of Ravnica Selesnya Guild Kit. A little bit harder to find. It goes up $1.33 to $10.40 this week. Now, this, of course, is seeing more commander play in those Sisay Weatherlight Captain builds as well. Mycosynth Lattice from Battlebond goes up $1.39 to $26.61. This sees a little commander play sometimes in like Brea and Therium Shaper builds, for example. Also does see some legacy and vintage play. Enchantress's Presence, you can probably guess why this is going up. Again, it has to do with those Core Set 2021 shrines. This is the one from Commander 2018. It goes up $1.43 to $6.95. Sheoldred Whispering one from New Phyrexia. This was reprinted in Jumpstart. It did lose a lot of value for a while. It bounces back somewhat this week, up $1.43 to $29.82. This is showing up in some of those Tiny Bones deck lists, which is probably why the card is a little more resilient than other cards that have been reprinted recently. And there is some interest in playing this card with other new cards too, like Witch of the Moors, for example. Additionally, this also got a Command Zone mention this week. A lot of people are building that Sisay Weatherlight Captain deck, I tell ya. Here's one of the shrines. It's Honden of Cleansing Fire. Eternal Masters goes up $1.21 to $2.92. Champions of Kamigawa up $1.45 to $2.47. Sword of Feast and Famine, Meriden Besieged goes up $1.49 to $59.99. The Modern Event Deck copy goes up $1.69 to $61.92. This is a solid commander card. You'll find this in builds like Najila the Blade Blossom and Cirquin Hero of Ashvale. This also is seeing increased play in Radha Heart of Keld builds. And this also does show up in some modern and legacy decks too. And it got a Tarian Community College mention this week. Urza's Incubator from Commander Anthology Volume 2 goes up $1.76 to $22.27. This is great in Commander Tribal builds. It has been seeing more play now in the Sethron Hurloon General builds. Mind Slicer from Odyssey up $1.78 to $12. This has seen increased play in Commander in those Tiny Bones builds. But also if you watch Commander Versus this week, this card showed up in that Chainer Dementia Master deck that I mentioned earlier in the video too. Platinum Angel for Magic 2011. This goes up $1.84 to $9.28. You'll find this one in Kalia of the Vast builds. And like we said earlier, that card is being reprinted in Double Masters. Also, this does combo with Fiery Emancipation and Heartless Hidetsugu. Ruby Medallion. It feels like one or two of these medallions are going up every week. They're very solid Commander cards. Commander Anthology Volume 2 goes up $1.28 to $14.51. Tempest goes up $1.90 to $16.50 this week. Now, this one influences red spells, and we know there's a lot of good new red spells coming to Commander. Things like Fiery Emancipation, a lot of new legendary creatures like Zerzoth Chaos Rider, Sabir Havoc Razor, Muxus Goblin Grandee, just to name a few. And again, Krenko Mob Boss was reprinted in Jumpstart. Palancron, this is on the reserve list. It goes up $1.90 to $37.48. Sure, this does see some Commander play, but right now I think more people are interested in it because of a new Jumpstart card that we mentioned earlier, Emiel the Blessed. Forced Fruition. This goes up $1.99 to $16.95. Notice it is a Lorwyn rare. This has seen some increased Commander play though in Zera's The Writhing Storm builds. Now it's showing up in Bruvac the Grandiloquent decks too. Burgeoning from Commander 2016. A lot of Commander 2016 cards just feel like they're drying up a little bit, at least online. This one goes up $2.28 this week to $20.48. It's a highly played Commander card in Lands builds and other builds too. Qasali Slingers. This is the one from Commander 2017 going up $2.34 to $4.24. This was recently reprinted in foil in the OMG Kitty Secret Lair. Traditionally, you found this in Arabo builds, but now, of course, there's a new home for this card too, Rin and Siri Inseparable decks. Goblin Sharpshooter from Onslaught, the original copy. Now, this did see some additional play in Calcium the Plague builds, but as we've been talking throughout this video, it's all the new goblins that have really pushed this in Commander. It goes up $2.55 to $17.49. Karn Silver Golem from Urza Saga. This is on the reserve list, but it did get two foil reprintings. One was an Arena promo. The other one was in From the Vault Relics. This goes up $2.85 to $14.91 this week. Now, this does see some Commander play, but this is another card that was featured in that My Weekly Grind article. Another Weatherlight reserve list card. It's Lotus Val going up $2.94 to $17.95. This does see some Commander play in a few different builds. Retribution of the Meek, another card on the reserve list that was also in that My Weekly Grind article. It goes up $3.23 to $12.49. Now, this does see Commander play. Sometimes you'll find this in Arcades the Strategist builds and more. Last Chance from Starter 1999. It goes up $3.49 to $19.99. This does see a little Commander play, but I think mostly this card just dried up this week on the online marketplace. That's why you're seeing the jump here. Maybe there's a little interest in this because of discontinuity from Core Set 2021. Scorched Ruins is another Weatherlight reserve list card. It goes up $4.39 to $16.44, but this one was featured in the My Weekly Grind blog. It's actually a pretty decent Commander card too. Many times you'll find this in builds like Kozilek the Great Distortion, Titania Protector Vargoth, and more. Time Spiral just keeps going up. It's on the reserve list. It goes up $4.80 to $119.24 this week. It has seen increased play in Zera's The Writhing Storm builds, also in Brawlin and Shabraz decks. And again, another card that plays well with the Locust God that was recently reprinted. Mind Over Matter, this one's on the reserve list, and I do think there is maybe some buyouts going on around these cheaper reserve list cards. This one goes up $4.85 to $26.67 this week, mostly because it's drying up in the online marketplace. However, there could be some additional interest in this card in Commander due to new cards like Rael the Everwise and Teferi's Ageless Insight, for example. We got another medallion. It's Jet Medallion, and this time it's the one that affects black spells. We know a lot of people are building around Tiny Bones right now. Also, many folks are building around Vito, Thorn of the Duskrows. Tempest goes up $2.50 to $28.17. Commander 2014 goes up $5.05 to $27.04. Deranged Hermit from Urza's Legacy is on the list again this week. This is on the reserve list. It did get a printing as a Judge foil, though, again, before they close that loophole. It goes up $5.08 to $24.99. It does see some Commander play. Debt of Loyalty, another Weatherlight reserve list card. It goes up $5.29 this week to $14.11. Again, another card that does see a little Commander play, but nothing crazy. Miri Weatherlight Duelist from Commander 2017, only found in foil. It goes up $6.22 to $23.99. This was also reprinted in foil not too long ago in the OMG Kitty Secret Lair. And of course, this is getting a push in Commander right now because of that Buy a Box promo for Core Set 2021, Rin and Siri Inseparable. Tombstone Stairwell, this is on the reserve list and it's drying up in the marketplace, going up 875 to 1687, perhaps a targeted buyout. This does see some commander play. Many times you'll find this in Teysa Karla builds and other decks in the format. Transmute Artifact on the reserve list, fantastic commander card if you're lucky enough to have a copy. Many times you'll find this in Urza Lord High Artificer builds and a lot of other builds too, of course, in the format. It goes up 27.89 this week to 247.78. That brings us to the premium spotlight. I'll give my quick disclaimer here. I don't like to spend a ton of time on rare foils or promos because if they don't sell a lot online in any given week, you don't necessarily get the best data. Sometimes that data is skewed and sometimes even it can be manipulated, so you have to be careful. But every week I like to pick at least one card that feels like it is moving naturally for the most part with the market. This week, it is Oath of Nissa. The Oath of the Gatewatch foil goes up 628 to 1289. The pre-release promo goes up 855 to 1595. That does it for the Market Watch this week. Beginning on Monday, the Double Masters previews will begin officially. I'm sure there's going to be some repercussions in the secondary market once we find out which cards are going to be reprinted in this set. Until next time though, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.